Yo, welcome to Hard Pass. I am your host, Jacques Slade. Today on the show, we've got a first look at Bad Bunny's signature shoe, a basketball player has the nerve to wear the Air Jordan 1s, the drama surrounding Cool Kicks, the week's hottest releases, and of course, we have our Hard Pass. All right, let's start the show with some hot takes. So, Bad Bunny, Super Bowl headliner, American citizen, and the number one reason geography should be emphasized more in school since some high-profile Chads and Karens don't know that Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory, has a signature shoe on the way called Bad Bull 1.0. What's interesting about the sneaker, besides MAGA guaranteeing that they will absolutely sell out when they drop because people who ordinarily wouldn't have cared are now going to buy them out of spite like their Harrison Butker jerseys, is the lack of 3 stripes on the upper. In fact, the sneaker could easily be mistaken for an Air Jordan 7 inspired shoe if it weren't for the trefoil logo on the shoe's collar and other branding hits that recall previous Benito and Adidas collabs. Ever since he signed with the brand in 2021, Bunny has been a low-key MVP for Adidas. His collabs don't always sell out right away, but they always receive a good amount of publicity. With the tease or leak or whatever you want to call these first looks at his signature shoe, combined with him drawing the ire of a group of people who would probably call ice on him if he was just walking down the street with a cup of coffee, the stage is set for sneaker culture war bullshit, the likes that we haven't seen since Colin Kaepernick asked Nike to take down the Betsy Ross Air Max 1 back in the pandemic era. And man, you can see the excitement on our face when that goes down sometime in 2026. So, yay. College basketball is almost back, which means one thing: preseason scrimmages. And while most people use scrimmages to, scrimmage, Arizona guard Jaden Bradley used his to get the internet arguing about the most pressing issue of our time: footwear. Because Jaden showed up in a pair of black Travis Scott Air Jordan 1 lows. Yes, the Cactus Jack collab. And instantly, social media did what social media always does: it picked a fight with itself. Half the people were furious that he would dare hoop in a sneaker built on 40-year-old technology, and the other half were confused because, and I'm not making this up, they were basketball shoes. And honestly, this feels like the perfect time to debut a brand new segment on the show called Both Things Can Be True. Or maybe 2 wrongs don't make a right, but 2 rights is just 1 right. Or maybe we should have spent more time naming this segment instead of workshopping jokes in the writer's room. Point is, we'll tighten that up later. Because here's the thing: hooping in Jordan 1s, even lows, isn't some radical, unforgivable crime. You're not going to be arrested by the FBI sneaker division. But also, everyone's right to say it's not the smartest move. Those shoes were designed when fax machines were futuristic technology. The game has evolved. The cushioning has evolved. Your knees have evolved. Unless, of course, you cheat the system. Swap out the insoles for some custom orthotics, slap on 3 pairs of socks, and suddenly you've built a crude but effective time machine for your feet. Like, yes, you're technically hooping in 1985, but your ankles are living in 2025. It's basically a crossover event between Back to the Future and Grey's Anatomy. And remember, Michael Jordan himself once laced up the Air Jordan 1s for the last time in 1988 against the Knicks. He finished the game and afterwards said his feet were literally bleeding. The shoes were soaking in blood, which is not performance wear. That is medieval torture device. So if Jaden Bradley's smart, he's learned from history, added some cushioning, and is doing just fine, guys. Because while it might look ridiculous to hoop in 40-year-old Jordans, it's still less ridiculous than arguing about it on Twitter for 6 hours, which, let's be honest, is where this conversation is going to end up living forever. Hey, if you're one of the tens of people who genuinely believe that LeBron James' second decision commercial was going to be a retirement announcement, I have a lot of questions. First, is this your first time on the internet? Second, the season starts in 2 weeks and he's been doing everything as the Lakers but suiting up for preseason games? Third, LeBron learned from the backlash of the decision. He didn't do it again when he went back to Cleveland, and we barely saw him in LA when he signed with the Lakers until he had to show up for media day. He knows better and was just playing y'all. And to our surprise, people got played again, allegedly. I feel like most of y'all who acted like they were betrayed by this Hennessy commercial was just doing it for the attention and clicks. Personally, I thought it was going to be an ad for Amazon Prime Day because he did one earlier this year. Co-writer thought it might be a glossy ad for Topps now that they have regained the NBA license and James is a Topps exclusive athlete. But nope, Hennessy. Whatever, that's cool, I guess. I mean, he played this trope before. He did a State Farm ad a year before the decision, teasing a monumental announcement that turned out to be a fantasy of playing for the Cleveland Browns. That was the most unrealistic part of the ad. Who fantasizes playing for the Cleveland Browns? There was no way this was going to be a retirement announcement. It just played on people's emotions and reactionary nature for clout. Mission accomplished, I guess. And if you saw the teaser and your first instinct was to buy tickets to the Lakers regular season home finale against Utah, which apparently a lot of people did because the cheapest tickets were $82, but now resale has jacked them up to over $600, I was tempted to call you a bunch of marks. However, the late Kobe Bryant's final game was against the Utah Jazz, and he didn't announce his retirement at the start of the season. He waited a month and a half to let the world know. Do I actually believe this was a stunt to shield for Henny and throw people off the scent? Hell no. But if I made you believe for even a second, you got to step up your media literacy, people. Come on. As somebody who barely acknowledges the existence of the Nike Air Force 3. NIGO is doing everything in his power to get me to care about the silhouette, and his latest pair that's a collab with Levi's has me at least somewhat intrigued. It's kind of like sisig, okay? It's this Filipino food that co-writer insists is the greatest thing ever, and he keeps bugging me to try it like the sneaker media mafia insists that Air Force 3s are a thing. I know that someday I'll try the sisig and I'm sure I'll like it, just like I'm sure when the day comes that I get a pair of Air Force 3s in house, I'm sure I will appreciate them as well. I just don't know when that day will be just yet. Anyway, happy Filipino American Heritage Month, y'all. Check out the latest episode of Too Hard to Pass podcast to see how Juan and I celebrated to kick off the month. Now, before we get to the heat check, let's address the Cool Kick saga. Because of how we record the show, the last thing we want to do is comment on a rapidly changing situation that features more swings than a Love is Blind crash out. Look, I don't watch the show, and neither does co-writer, but we both saw the Edmund segment independently of each other, and we're like, damn, that's some good, bad acting. Wait, it's not a scripted show? It's a reality show? Oh, that means it's scripted. Great acting, Edmund. I absolutely refuse to believe a grown adult would react like that. Anyway, this is what's current as of this recording. If you haven't heard, well, I salute you because you're oblivious to the sneaker resale world, and that's a great place to be. But Cool Kicks is an LA-based sneaker reseller that caters to the Gen Z and Gen Alpha crowd with their reliance on social media, celebrity connections, and all sorts of other bullshit that we let the kids sort out because we're too old. Last week, LAPD raided Cool Kick's warehouse led by their Bunko Forgery Department. If they're involved, it's serious. That means the case could involve fraud and counterfeit products, aka things you don't want your reseller brand to be associated with. Cool Kick's founder, Adil Shams, was initially arrested, but he was released with a date set for October 23rd at the LA Superior Court. According to a statement by the LAPD, they recovered $500,000 worth of stolen, not fake, items in the raid. They are tying the stolen goods to the recent string of cargo theft that have occurred around the country, where people are jacking trains like they're in a Michael Bay movie and making out with sneakers and other hypebeast items instead of bricks or cocaine. Why do I feel like this case is someday going to be the subject of a bad Netflix buddy cop movie starring Kevin Hart and Mark Wahlberg? Well, just hold on, you'll see it. Now, we probably won't know the details of the case for a while, but for now, the accusation that everybody jumped on Cool Kicks for when this news first broke, that the recovered items were counterfeit sneakers, might be a case of people projecting their biases towards resellers in general. What is also being investigated is whether or not Cool Kicks knew if the products they had in hand were stolen. Like I said earlier, gonna leave that up to the authorities to sort out. Cool Kicks, well, they seem to be posting through it, which is either genius or inviting more scrutiny from the outside world. Whatever. Let's get back to the pick of the week. When news like this or the West Coast Joe saga pops up, the only thing we really want to say is if you miss out on something you really, really wanted and are tempted to buy at resale, don't. Just don't. There's always something next week. It's never, ever that serious. All right. Our pick of the week is the Infinite Archives Air Jordan 17. This is going to be on October 17th for $305. See this? This is award season debate. You know how movie studios love to drop movies that typically do well at the Oscars and Golden Globes during a particular time of the year? Well, this is The Rock trying to convince us that he can act after years of doing everything in his power to piss away all of the goodwill that he... Okay. All right, co-writer, calm down. Look, we both know that Dwayne Johnson is actually quite the capable actor. Granted, he doesn't have the street cred of a Dave Bautista or the comedic chops of a John Cena, but when given the right script and the right director, he's certainly better than anything Triple H did on the screen. Wow, that was harsh. I didn't mean it that way. No wonder Trips never left for Hollywood. Damn, even when I'm trying to compliment The Rock, it doesn't sound great. Hey, where was I? The shoes. With the Air Jordan 17 low getting a handful of retros last year, the silhouette has been near top of mind in the sneakerhead world. So dropping a collab with a rising brand like Infinite Archives is again award season bait. We've even got founder Easy October doing the interview rounds and showing off the sneaker everywhere. And you know what? It deserves to be shown because it's about damn time we started putting some respect on the Air Jordans that Michael Jordan wore during his Washington Wizards tenure. I'm talking about 16s, 17s, and 18s. We'll talk about the other two when Jordan Brand decides it's time to bring them back and do collabs with the right people. But for now, the 17 deserves to shine. It features an upper that's a sail off-white variant that's called Beach. It's got that vintage look that sneakerheads crave, but alongside the old-timey vibes are the nods to the 17's past. There's the chrome heel piece with a gradient finish that features previous OG colorways of the sneaker. Then we get the multicolor pods on the bottom that are a reference to the lightning worn by Michael Jordan in the 2002 All-Star Game, the white and purple player exclusive made for Mike Bibby, the turf version on the feet of Mike Vick before he got his own Nike signature shoe, and many more. And just like the original 17s that came with the briefcase, this release will also come with goodies like the white Nike Department of Archives gloves that recount October's visit to the top secret office at Nike HQ, a record adapter that we saw printed on the multimedia CDs that came with the original 17s, and a Jordan Brand magazine that I'm sure co-writer will absolutely appreciate as he still loves print media. Now, here's where a lot of people will probably turn on the collab though. It's priced at $305. Even with all those tchotchkes, that's going to be a tough sell without the briefcase that so many people associated the 17s with. Do I think that will prevent the sneaker from selling out? No, there's enough momentum and hype that people who want them will get them, and people who want them to get them to resell will be able to resell them. But that does hurt the appeal of the sneaker and will prevent anybody who might be interested in the 17s for the first time from pursuing these or the previous retros. It's a tough balance. If you're going to release a premium product, you have to drop it at a premium price point. I'm just saying that someday, it might not be now or in the immediate future, but someday Jordan is going to launch an ultra premium collab, and their view on what is premium is going to wildly differ from the public's, and it's going to tank hard. Like the Smashing Machines box art. See, co-writer, you just cannot stop. Anyway, before we get to the hard pass, I just want to send a quick shout out and congratulations to the McClaren Formula One team for winning their second consecutive Constructors Championship. Well done, fellas. Great job putting the car in an excellent position to dominate the field. After what seems like literally years in the darkness where people were starting to forget that McClaren was a world-class organization that produced champions, they are now right back where they belong. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way, let's get to the good stuff. Hey, McClaren, stop around and let Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris compete for the Drivers' Championship. We know Big Boss Zach Brown's priority is the Constructors' Championship, and that's fine and all, but man, Papaya Rules has taken the joy out of a majority of the season's Drivers' Championship fight. By encouraging the drivers to play nice and think about the team first before individual glory, moments where Oscar and Lando should have been at each other's necks have been nerfed. But now that you guys have locked up the championship with 6 races to go, we need you to stop messing around and let these guys go at it. If they're angling for preferential treatment, let us know. If there's passive-aggressive comments in the interviews and social media, have at it. When one driver gets ahead of the other because of crappy pit stops, tough shit. That's racing, dog. None of this letting the other pass nonsense. Nah. Let them earn it on the track. And if they happen to bump into each other and that doesn't result in a crash or is just enough to get on each other's nerves, let it happen. Give us 6 races of true fighting, McClaren. You owe us that much after boring us with your Kumbaya act for most of the year. Oscar is already showing signs of feistiness, and Lando was out there telling British Vogue that winning the Drivers' Championship ain't that big of a deal, even though he gets off these cheeky quotes on race weekends that give the impression that he cares more than he lets on. We deserve this, McClaren. Now give it to us. Of course, the ultimate comedic outcome of all of this is if Max Verstappen somehow mounting the greatest comeback from behind victory in the history of the sport. And hey, we would welcome that too. Let's finish the season strong, McClaren. Leave them alone. Let them fight. It's time for this week's Hard Pass. We'll take a look at something in the culture that just needs to go, like Hollywood thinking they can get in on this anime wave that's going on right now. This past weekend, co-writer watched Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba Infinity Castle. Now, He hasn't kept up on the Demon Slayer lore because after he watched the first few episodes, it didn't do much to hold his attention. Now, keep in mind, this is the same guy who watched the first episode of Attack on Titan and was so utterly repulsed by it that he ended up watching the whole anime creeped out by those freaky ass looking Titans. Not only that, Neon Genesis Evangelion disturbed him so much that he seriously considered watching the movie again just to get the feeling back. I just never know with this guy sometimes. Anyways, he liked the Demon Slayer movies. It was a 2.5 hour banger that would have been an all-timer if it was 90 minutes at the most. Like, the amount of color and creativity and imagination was on par, if not better, than what we've seen from Disney or Pixar the last decade or so. It rivals the Spider-Verse movie. It's that good. He wouldn't recommend it to people who don't already have knowledge of the series or at least versed in what he likes to call anime bullshit. So proceed with caution. It helps to have a sibling who's neck deep in Demon Slayer lore and revels in anime bullshit, so he recommends getting one of those so you can ask them dumb questions before and after the movie. Oh, and it's made over $600 million globally, more than Fantastic Four, more than Superman. Pair that up with the runaway success of K-pop Demon Hunters on Netflix, and it's got a lot of people in Hollywood wondering what the future is. Do they abandon their movie stars and comic book films from their own takes on the genre? I sure as hell hope not. Every time an anime or anime-adjacent property pops off stateside, the capital T town tries to jump in on the trend to disastrous results. Remember the Cowboy Bebop Netflix adaptation? It had moments, but ultimately it couldn't replicate the vibes that made the original anime one of the all-time greats. That Death Note movie? Nah, people were not having it. And the less we talk about the Dragon Ball Evolution movie, the better. I'm only comparing the two because they both had Japanese origins, but there's a reason we had to wait until 2023 for a big budget Super Mario Bros. CG movie, and that's because the original live action 1993 movie with John Leguizamo and the late Bob Hoskins was so terrible, it took that long for Nintendo to trust anybody here. That's the power of Jack Black, yo. Anyways, if some executive at one of the big studios here in the States, or Sony, who through their ownership of anime streaming service Crunchyroll have a hand in the distribution of Demon Slayer across the world, decide it's time to put, say, Taylor Swift or the biggest TikTok celeb in the role of Nezuko, first of all, I would point them to Scarlett Johansson and see how cosplaying as Asian turned out for her. They can barely contain themselves from saying dumb and ignorant just because Ryan Coogler had the nerve to ask for ownership of Sinners. What makes you think they're going to do right by a Japanese fantasy story that has a clearly definable beginning and end? As much as co-writer and I appreciate the franchises like Star Trek or Game of Thrones or Star Wars or the MCU keep pumping out content that keeps us entertained, there's something admirable about quitting while you're ahead. Demon Slayer is a 4-season anime series that led directly into the first of 3 Infinity Castle movies. After that, it's a wrap. No sequels, no spin-off, no soulless cash-ins. For every Dragon Ball that will never end, there are hundreds of anime with characters just as beloved as Goku and company that knew when to stop. If Demon Slayer ends up in the hands of Hollywood and somehow stumbles into a hit, they will grind that stone to the point where its fans will just be as jaded and cranky as the clowns who can't stand it when a woman holds a lightsaber or that Spider-Man can be half black, half Puerto Rican kid. Don't do Hollywood Demon Slayer, Hollywood. Champion it, throw some money its way so that the next 2 movies will somehow look even better than the first, educate non-believers that it's okay to watch anime, but leave the creative to the people who know the story best. And when it's time to finish the story, don't throw that carrot during the end credits teasing the next thing. Oh, and one more thing before we go. Xbox, the amount of self-sabotage you guys are pulling is just wow. We've had time to look into the whys of Xbox current run of, I would say, dumbass moves. And we get that part of it is because they're being pressured by the big bosses at Microsoft to make money so they can burn it on the AI grift. But holy shit. Killing the thing that was once considered your killer service, Game Pass, is a bold move. Once priced at $10 a month, we said a few episodes ago that even at $20 a month, it was still a justifiable expense for gamers. But now that it's $30 a month, the cost of 5 $70 games? Nah. At this point, you're better off buying the games piecemeal, and if you can exhibit a little patience, you can get 10 to 15 games on sale with that $360. If you're that dwindling demographic of 20-somethings with disposable income, free time, and a love of Fortnite and 5-year-old EA and Ubisoft games, then sure, Game Pass can still be the thing for you. But the rest of us, we'll be playing Hades 2 on our Switch 2s or Steam Decks. Xbox going out sadder than a resale peddling Labubus because nobody's buying shattered backboards. And that's sad. Okay, one last thing. Asia Wilson, y'all. WNBA finals aren't over yet as of this recording, but with the Las Vegas Aces up 3-0, it's going to take one of the greatest comebacks in sports history for us to not dedicate a chunk of next week's show to Asia and her A1s. Darn, I hope we didn't jinx it. All right, that's going to do it for the show. Thank you guys for watching Hard Pass. I am Jacques Slade. I'll see you next week. If you would like to possibly be featured in a future episode, call us at 818-493-9325. Leave a short message, your socials if you want, no more than 30 seconds. All right, I'll see you next week. Peace.